um, uh, tutorial, the next coding on how to coding interview. Now we just have 30 minutes, and the question before us is match case sorted list. And I'm just saying the question as you are also saying it, so let's see what can be done with this. So the question says here to match case sorted linked list and return it as one sorted list. Analyze and describe its complexity. So this is the input and this is the output. So case sorted linked list and return it as one sorted list. So this is 145 is sorted, 134 is sorted, 26 is sorted. Then you now want to these three items, you now want to return 11344. Okay, 1123445 6. So how do we approach this problem? We are given a list. We are given a list of nodes, and we're supposed to return a list of nodes. So what's the best way to handle this problem? And they have given a definition of a singly linked list. Let's think a little how to approach the problem. Since I already know that they are sorted, that gives me an idea that I could actually use the merging technique in a match sort. So how do we do that? Now I can get the items in the list. If I get the first item, I can get the head of that list because I've already been given the structure of the linked list here. So I can get the value with the val, and I can get the next item with nest. I can use nest to know the next item. So yeah, in merge, if I can remember correctly, you put a pointer at the head, or normally we merge two. You put a pointer at the head of the two sorted lists, and you compare the two items. If one is less than the other, you create a new list where you have them. Then you move you move the pointer where it is actually smaller. So let's say I have 1 and 2. So the pointer is on 1 and 2. I compare 1 and 2. Okay, 1 is smaller. So I'll copy 1 into the temporary list. Then I'll move pointer forward in the list that has 1. And let's say 3 is on that one. I compare 3 and 2. Okay, the right one is smaller, so I copy 2 into that and I move that forward. With that intuition, what I can do is I'm able to get the element in each of these with the head. If I iterate through the list, because this is a list of list node, it's a list of list node, that is, it's a list that contains list node object. So I can iterate through the list to get the items in the list. Now once I have the items in the list, so I can say for hell in list, so this will give me all the items in the list. I can have hell. So but once I'm able to get each item in the list, I need to now pick the first item, which is a list node, and pick the head of that and compare with the head of the second. How do I handle that? It seems I have to first of all store each of the item in the list in a temporary variable. Does that work? Mm. Seems I have to store each of the item in the list in a temporary variable, and I can make my comparison. Mm. Mm. Does that work? Mm. This iterate through. I get the first one, and I also need to iterate through, and let me see, analyze and describe its complexity. Then this L, I can get the head. If I want to print, I can get each of those lists this way. But I need to have all of them stored. do I do that? Mm-hmm. How do I do that? Mm. Pick the post item, store it. Mm. Okay. I think I can. Let me see. I need to get the length of the list. Let me call that in. I need to get the length of that list first. This gives me the length of the list. So in this case, it will be 3. So I know the length of my list. Then I can access each of them. How do we do this? Uh, I can access each of them. How? What's the best way of doing this? Any idea? Mm. Normally in Matchsort, we have the two lists separate. we can refer to them. Then we iterate through. Because if we use this one, it will take hell. The first one will be this. And I need to start this one somewhere before it goes through to the next one and through to the last one. So I need to store each of those items so that it could be remembered. Because I need to extract the first one, I need to put it into two. Do this and this first. After then do this and this. So I have to do it 2-2 using the merge technique. Another idea that I'm thinking, since I can only do that, I can say if length of hell, if length of the list is less than 2, then I'll just return the lists. That should give me health. That's when I need to do work. If it's less than 2, that means I have just empty or 1. I'll just return that. But if I have 2, then I can iterate through. And pick the first one and the second one. So I can say, I don't know, I will need like a counter. Why something like maybe I less than the length of the list. I'll need something like this. Then I can pick the first one and say for for so I need to iterate. I need to pick list 0 and list 1 and do the comparison. Okay, let's say while j is less than length of list 0 or is it less than both of them or less than the two? j is less than length of the first one and the second one. I think it's and j less than, just to be less than both of them. Length of list 1. We now pick the first item. We now pick the first item and say if list 0, to get that we have to use dot val is less than list 1 dot val then we will add list 0 dot val to our output, which should also be a list node. Then we can say output dot val is equal to list 0 dot val. Then we can declare our output and say list node output. We can use the self. So if this is less than this, we add it to that, else if it is not, then we say our output dot val is equals to list 1 dot val. Is that enough? I think that should be on it. So this will continue. It will compare this so we can initiate our high to be equals to 0, j to be equals to 0. At the end of this, we increment our I to be equals to I plus 1, and at the end of this, we increment our j to be equals to j plus 1. If length of list is less than 2, the list If not, we start from the 0 1. Yi is less than length of list. We pick the first. Yeah, it says 0. We might replace this one with 0. That will be another thing. We still need to do some work there. We have just 4 minutes to go. If they are just two, check the first one. When j is less than this, j is less than this. If but we have not used the j because the j keeps incrementing. There's still a lot of work to be done here. So immediately we are done with this, we have to replace it. We have to make sure that because we have already copied list 0.val, we don't need that anymore. So we change list 0.val becomes the next. Become list 0.next.
Are you using this? Okay, let me just. So what's going on?
And this lists one dot val becomes list one dot next. To update that it moves. At any point where j is no longer less than either of these two, that will end, and we need to copy all the remaining one. We need to copy all the rest into output.val. So here we say for x how do we copy that? You can say while j less than length of list, because we don't know which of them, list 0 we just copy and say output how do we add output.val? We need to look into output.val. Yeah, time is up. we just had output.val is equal to whatever that lists 0.val is. Now we update this. We do the same thing for this y j, just to copy the rest after the first value. List 1, then now we still need to look at this output.val because it's supposed to be an addition, not a replacement. So we list 1.val and we say lists 1.val to be equals to the lists 1.next. Well, that's so far we could get for now. There's so much there. An invalid syntax, yeah. Okay. Invalid list node. No, it's not declared valid. Just say output. Supposed to be able to create a list node object with that, I suppose. To be able to create a list node, you need the first value. Don't know what that should be. Yeah, there's some error there. We'll continue from there another time. This is an attempt to solve this. Your comment is welcome and your own solution too is welcome. Thank you for listening.